Have you ever walked away from a conversation wishing you had said something different? Have you ever replayed someone's words over and over in your mind, while they probably forgot about the entire interaction minutes later? If so, you're not weak. You're giving other people access to a place they never earned, the control room of your emotions. Machiavelli understood something that most people spend their entire lives discovering too late. The greatest form of power is not forcing others to fear you. It is reaching the point where they can no longer control how you feel. The moment someone can predict your emotional reactions, they already possess leverage over you. They know which buttons to press, which words to use, and exactly how to make you lose your balance. Imagine becoming the one person who cannot be manipulated by insults, praise, rejection, or betrayal. Imagine walking through life with a calmness that makes others question themselves instead of you. That is the skill you are about to master. Before we begin, write this affirmation in the comments. No one controls my mind but me. That single sentence is more than a comment. It is the first step toward becoming emotionally untouchable. Now let's discover why Machiavelli believed the strongest person in the room is almost never the loudest one. It is the one nobody can emotionally move. The greatest prison ever built has no walls. It is made of opinions. Most people never realize they are living inside it because everyone around them shares the same beliefs. They confuse popularity with truth. They assume that if enough people agree on something, it must be correct. Machiavelli understood that rulers rarely need chains when conformity does the job for them. Observe any group of people. One person laughs and others laugh. One person panics, and panic spreads like fire. One influential voice forms an opinion, and suddenly hundreds repeat it as though it were their own. This is not intelligence. It is psychological imitation. Human beings naturally seek safety and belonging, and that desire makes them incredibly predictable. Powerful individuals think differently. They never ask, "What is everyone else doing?" They ask, "Why is everyone doing it?" That single question separates independent minds from obedient ones. This does not mean opposing the crowd simply to appear unique. Contrarians are just as predictable as followers because they still allow the crowd to determine their behavior. Real independence means observing without emotional attachment. You neither blindly agree nor automatically disagree. You investigate. The majority often reacts emotionally before gathering facts. They judge quickly because certainty feels comfortable. Yet, comfort is rarely where truth lives. Those who gain influence are willing to tolerate uncertainty long enough to understand reality. The next time everyone rushes toward the same conclusion, resist the temptation to join immediately. Pause. Watch. Ask yourself who benefits from this reaction. Ask what assumptions everyone is making. More importantly, ask what nobody is questioning. Most manipulation succeeds because people never stop to think. They inherit beliefs instead of building them. The person who learns to separate observation from emotion quietly escapes the mental prison that traps almost everyone else. Most people believe words reveal the truth. Machiavelli knew the opposite. Words often exist to hide intentions rather than expose them. Listen carefully during any conversation. Some people speak endlessly about loyalty, yet disappear when loyalty becomes inconvenient. Others constantly advertise their honesty while quietly bending every rule that serves them. The louder someone insists on a virtue, the more carefully you should examine their actions. Actions are expensive. Words are cheap. This is why intelligent observers spend less time listening to promises and more time watching patterns. A single behavior repeated consistently tells you far more than 100 convincing speeches. People rarely lie only with their mouths. They lie with timing. They lie with selective attention. They lie through exaggerated emotion. Sometimes what they avoid discussing is far more revealing than what they eagerly explain. Notice who changes personalities depending on who enters the room. Notice who flatters those with authority while dismissing those without status. Notice who only contacts you when they need something. These details seem insignificant until you realize they form a predictable pattern. Dark psychology is not about becoming suspicious of everyone. It is about becoming accurate. The average person sees isolated events. A strategic thinker sees repeated behaviors. Once you recognize patterns, surprises become rare. This ability changes everything. Suddenly, manipulation loses much of its power because you no longer evaluate people based on how they make you feel in a single moment. You evaluate them based on what they consistently do over time. Machiavelli never advised trusting appearances. He advised studying human nature. Human nature rarely changes. Every manipulation begins with an emotional reaction. Someone insults you because they want your anger. Someone praises you because they want your trust. Someone creates urgency because they want you to stop thinking. Every emotional trigger is an attempt to move your mind before your reason has time to catch up. Most people believe they are making decisions. Often they are simply reacting. The person who controls your emotional state temporarily influences your judgment. That is why advertisements create fear before offering solutions. It is why manipulators alternate between affection and distance. It is why public outrage spreads faster than careful analysis. Emotion narrows attention. Reason expands it. This does not mean becoming cold or emotionless. Emotions are valuable signals, but terrible masters. The problem begins when feelings become your only evidence. When something makes you instantly angry, ask why. When something feels too good to be true, investigate further. When someone pressures you to decide immediately, recognize that urgency often benefits the other person more than you. Silence is one of the strongest psychological defenses you can develop. The few seconds between stimulus and response are where real power exists. Most people surrender those seconds without realizing it. They answer immediately. They defend themselves immediately. They react immediately. Strategic minds delay. That delay allows emotion to settle and perception to sharpen. The calmer you become, the harder you are to manipulate. People who rely on emotional control eventually lose interest because their usual methods stop working. Nothing frustrates a manipulator more than someone who refuses to react on command. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that appearances reveal reality. They judge confidence as competence, kindness as loyalty, and charm as honesty. Machiavelli understood that appearances are often carefully constructed because people know they are constantly being observed. The image someone presents to the world is not always a reflection of who they truly are. In many cases, it is a strategy designed to influence perception. Those who only see the surface become easy to deceive. Those who look beneath it begin to understand the real game. Instead of asking what someone is doing, ask why they are doing it. Motives explain behavior far better than explanations ever will. A generous act may come from genuine goodwill, or it may be an investment expecting future returns. Advice may be sincere, or it may quietly guide you toward a decision that benefits someone else. The action alone tells you very little. The incentive behind the action tells you almost everything. Learn to observe patterns instead of isolated moments. Anyone can appear patient for one conversation, humble for one meeting, or loyal during good times. Character is revealed through consistency, especially when circumstances change. Watch how people behave when they gain power, lose status, face criticism, or no longer need your support. Pressure exposes motives that comfort successfully hides. This principle applies to yourself as well. Before making any important decision, ask what is truly motivating you. Are you acting from wisdom or from ego? Are you seeking justice or simply revenge? Are you pursuing success because it aligns with your values or because you crave recognition? The more honest you become about your own motives, the more accurately you will recognize them in others. Healthy skepticism is not cynicism. It is disciplined observation. It does not assume everyone has bad intentions, nor does it blindly assume everyone has good ones. It simply refuses to confuse appearance with truth. Watch who benefits. Watch what changes when incentives change. Watch whether actions continue after the applause disappears. These quiet observations reveal more than persuasive speeches ever could. The world is full of performances, polished images, and carefully chosen words. Most people become captivated by the performance. The strategic thinker studies the purpose behind it. Once you begin seeing motives instead of appearances, manipulation loses much of its power. You stop reacting to what people want you to see and start understanding what they are actually trying to accomplish. That shift in perception changes every relationship, every negotiation, and every decision you make. Dependence is invisible weakness. Whoever desperately needs approval can be controlled through rejection. Whoever desperately needs attention can be controlled through validation. Whoever desperately needs comfort can be controlled through fear. Every attachment that becomes a necessity also becomes a point of leverage. Machiavelli understood that the greatest form of freedom is needing less than the people trying to influence you. The less desperate you are for outcomes, recognition, or acceptance, the more difficult you become to manipulate. Imagine two people sitting at the same negotiation table. One believes this is the only opportunity they will ever have. The other knows they can calmly walk away if the terms are not right. The difference between them is not intelligence, it is independence. The person who can leave holds the invisible advantage because they are no longer negotiating from fear. They are negotiating from choice. This principle extends far beyond business or politics. It governs friendships, relationships, careers, and even everyday conversations. People often surrender their power the moment they become emotionally dependent on being liked, understood, or constantly appreciated. Once others recognize that dependence, they no longer have to earn your respect. They simply manage your emotions. They give approval when they want something and withdraw it when they want control. Without realizing it, you begin chasing what they choose to give. True strength comes from becoming internally complete. Build skills instead of seeking applause. Develop discipline instead of chasing motivation. Create opportunities instead of clinging to one door that might close. The more capable you become on your own, the less influence other people have over your decisions. Confidence rooted in competence cannot be taken away by criticism. Needing less does not mean caring less. It means refusing to let your peace depend on circumstances or people beyond your control. You can value relationships without becoming enslaved by them. You can appreciate praise without requiring it. You can welcome success without fearing failure. This quiet independence changes the way others see you. They realize emotional pressure no longer works because your self-worth is no longer in their hands. Ironically, the people who need the least often attract the most. They are respected because they cannot be easily bought, intimidated, or manipulated. Their decisions are guided by principles rather than desperation. That is the kind of power Machiavelli admired. Not loud domination, but silent self-mastery. When nothing external owns your mind, no one external can truly own you. Average thinkers ask, what happens next? Strategic thinkers ask, what happens after that and after that? This single habit separates those who merely react to life from those who quietly shape it. Most people evaluate decisions by their immediate rewards or discomfort. They chase what feels good today and avoid what feels difficult now, rarely considering the chain of consequences their choices will create. Machiavelli understood that power belongs to those who can see beyond the first move. Every action begins a sequence, and those who understand the sequence control the outcome. Many opportunities appear attractive because they promise instant gratification, yet they quietly plant the seeds of future dependence. Likewise, many difficult decisions feel painful in the moment, but become the foundation of freedom years later. The disciplined mind is willing to sacrifice temporary comfort for permanent advantage. While others celebrate quick victories, the strategic thinker is already calculating the cost that victory may demand tomorrow. Before accepting an opportunity, ask yourself what responsibilities it will create. Before entering a partnership, imagine how incentives might change over time. Before responding in anger, picture the relationship 1 week, 1 month, and 1 year later. A single emotional decision can create consequences that last for decades. Likewise, one moment of patience can prevent problems that never need to exist. This is how masters of strategy think. They understand that every move changes the entire board. Winning today's argument may cost tomorrow's alliance. Taking the easy path today may quietly eliminate greater opportunities in the future. Remaining silent today may provide information that becomes priceless later. Every choice has visible consequences and hidden consequences. Most people only notice the visible ones. Human nature pushes us toward immediate certainty because uncertainty feels uncomfortable. We want instant answers, instant success, and instant justice. But reality rewards those who tolerate uncertainty long enough to make wiser decisions. The ability to pause and mentally project several possible futures is one of the rarest forms of intelligence. It prevents unnecessary mistakes before they are ever made. Train yourself to ask one simple question before every important decision. If I continue down this path, where will it lead? That question alone will save you from countless regrets. Over time, you will begin seeing patterns that others overlook. You will recognize hidden risks before they become disasters, and hidden opportunities before anyone else notices them. The future rarely surprises the person who has already imagined it from every angle. That is why strategic thinking is not about predicting the future with certainty. It is about preparing for it better than everyone else. Predictable people are easy to manipulate because everyone knows exactly how they will respond. Insult them, and they become angry. Praise them, and they become trusting. Pressure them, and they panic. Manipulators rely on these emotional patterns because they know the outcome before making the move. The moment someone can accurately predict your reaction, they gain an invisible advantage over you. They stop observing and start directing. They no longer adapt to you because they already believe they know the script. The truly powerful person quietly destroys that certainty, not through chaos or irrational behavior, but through disciplined self-control. Sometimes the strongest response is complete silence. Sometimes it is a calm smile where others expect outrage. Sometimes it is walking away from an argument that everyone assumes you will fight. Every unexpected display of composure forces people to question their assumptions. Suddenly, they are no longer controlling the interaction. They are studying you instead. Machiavelli understood that uncertainty creates hesitation, and hesitation creates opportunity. An opponent who cannot predict your next move becomes cautious. They begin second-guessing themselves. They waste energy preparing for possibilities that may never happen. Meanwhile, you remain focused while they become mentally exhausted trying to read you. This does not mean changing your principles every day or acting randomly for the sake of appearing mysterious. Randomness is weakness disguised as freedom. Strategic unpredictability is different. Your values remain steady, but your reactions remain under your control. No one should know exactly when you will speak, when you will remain silent, when you will forgive, or when you will permanently walk away. Those decisions belong to you alone. Most people reveal themselves too quickly. They advertise every opinion, every emotion, every future plan, and every insecurity. In doing so, they hand others a detailed map of their mind. Once someone possesses that map, influencing them becomes far easier. The wise man keeps parts of himself unseen, not because he has something to hide, but because mystery protects freedom. Remember that the goal is never to confuse yourself. It is to prevent others from becoming too comfortable with predicting you. Stay disciplined, stay observant, stay emotionally balanced. Let your consistency exist in your character, not in your reactions. When people realize they cannot pull your emotional strings or anticipate your next move, they stop treating you as someone to manipulate and begin treating you as someone to respect. That quiet uncertainty becomes one of the greatest forms of psychological power you will ever possess. Thinking differently is not about becoming cynical. It is about becoming conscious. Most people drift through life accepting ideas they never questioned, reacting to emotions they never examined, and trusting appearances they never investigated. You no longer have to live that way. The greatest transformation is invisible. It begins when you stop asking, "What should I think?" and begin asking, "What is actually true?" That question will separate you from the crowd more than any title, degree, or achievement ever could. Machiavelli's greatest lesson was never about manipulation for its own sake. It was about understanding human nature so clearly that you could navigate a complicated world without becoming its victim. Observe carefully. Speak deliberately. Question confidently. Control your emotions. Study motives. Protect your independence. Think several moves ahead. These habits will not simply change your decisions. They will change the person making them. Because the strongest mind is not the loudest. It is the one that remains clear while everyone else is overwhelmed. If this message challenged the way you think, then it has already done its job. Before you leave, write this affirmation in the comments. I choose truth over comfort. The moment you commit to thinking independently, you begin seeing a world that most people never notice. And once you see it, you can never think like everyone else again. If you've made it this far, you've already taken the first step toward thinking beyond the ordinary. Now, make that commitment public. Write this affirmation in the comments. I think beyond appearances. I master my mind.